The Daysum Compound. The Adepts. Of the two groups in the Daysum Compound, the Adepts were the most important to the day-to-day functioning of the social program. Even in the days before the Daysum project, individuals were identified for their abilities to work with the plasma field. There had been special schools for these unique children, and these abilities were sought after by employers wanting to see into their future. The training protocols used in the schools in the Old World were expanded and enhanced in the Daysum Compound. Most adepts in the Daysum had impressive talents. They could follow a timeline and predict with nearly 100% accuracy what would happen in the future. However, they were limited. Each vision session only allowed them to follow one thread, a single possibility. For the adept, timeline viewing is like time traveling into the future. Starting from the present, it is possible to look at the potential future outcomes for a given choice. The problem of determining the actual outcome arises from one simple truth. The future is not static, but dynamic. The future is not fixed, rather it can change based on differing actions and choices people make. A good adept was accurate in depicting one possible spacetime outcome only. To determine how any given action would produce the desired outcome meant that the adept had to be able to address the complexity of an infinite number of choices. It was hoped that by utilizing the vision of several adepts traveling through one of the multiple possibilities and then sharing the differing perspectives, together these visions could create a dynamic picture of possibilities. But even this was not a fail-safe approach. It left certain possibilities unseen. Helene had found another way. One that allowed her to see the entire fabric of space-time. Helene remembered her first experience with timeline viewing. She was 11 years old. Her handler had given her instructions to follow the timeline of a particular member of the Central City. After less than 5 minutes of following the unfolding future of this member, Helene had found that she could see new avenues and possibilities opening up. She started to follow these new threads, and then became frustrated knowing that she had lost the previous possibilities. In this frustration, Helene had pulled her psychic viewing up and out of the scene. It was at this point that she saw the big picture. It was so startling that she immediately came back into her body, sitting in the chair. She was covered in sweat and breathing heavily. "What just happened?" she had said. She had described her experience to her handler, but he did not believe her. Not at first, anyway. It was only after several more demonstrations, and then months of verification of her visions, that her abilities were recognized. Since then, the elite leadership had been trying to understand how Helene did what she did. Unlike the typical adept, Helene could shift her viewing position at any time. This allowed her to examine each and every possible facet. Her visions usually had a percentage of scary or dark possibilities. It seemed that the darker the negative vision became, the brighter was the positive possibility. The problem with following a line that was bright, however, was that the counterpoint was pulled ever more slightly into the realm of possibility. It was as if the two possibilities existed at opposite ends of the same tunnel or line. By selecting the brightest future, you were also selecting the darkest shadow line. Most adepts could only view one possibility, or sometimes two, but almost always from the same original start point. Until Helene joined the Daysum, it was never understood that each of these lines were interconnected. Helene could enter multiple timelines and look at each in relation to one another by holding many strings in a framework of what she called her loom. Helene was given charge of teaching the rest of the compound members how to follow multiple timelines. But, to date, no one else had succeeded. It was hoped that a new initiate would be discovered who could be taught how to work with the loom. Her own future visioning had shown her that a new adept, with powerful abilities, would be arriving soon.